I welcome Mr S K Gupta for the paper 3, and I'll make him host. And I welcome all 10 participants. In between, suppose as a host, if new participant wants to join, you will have to admit them.
I answer, and I know that, sir. I know that, sir.
You will be doing that.
I absolutely will do that.
Right. So now I'm making you host, and thus I think suffice the purpose. You are host now.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay.
So, I believe, good afternoon, friends. I believe we have the quorum. I believe now there I can see 14 of us are there. So, I'm assuming all of you. Okay, let me just try to basically get a quick sense of where are you from. So, Mahesh Batra, thank you for putting in from Delhi chapter. Can everybody just put in, I believe, where are you logging in from? Name is very clear, evident from your that. I believe, which city are you logging in, I believe, and I believe you can mention the corporate where you are coming in from. So if you can mention.
Shailesh sir, Jitendra here. I'm from Lucknow.
You can put it in the chat box. Jiten,
okay.
Please put it in the chat box. Otherwise, we'll not be able to do the discipline of the virtual platform. So I'll request everybody to probably put in where are you logging in from, which city are you logging in from, and if you are coming in from a corporate or you're an entrepreneur or a trainer or a freelancer, whatever, or if you are even if you are a faculty or a student, please mention that in the chat box. And that's the preferred way of probably starting the conversation with a larger crowd. And as we move along, I believe we'll definitely interact where you can unmute yourself and then we can interact also. So that's how we'll make the decorum of the virtual platform going on. So I can see, oh, wonderful. So I can see Maheji logging in from Delhi chapter. Wonderful. Pratik is logging from Delhi. Welcome, Pratik. Mahesh is head of training from Noida iEnergizer. Wonderful. Welcome, Mahesh. I can see iEnergizer has a lot of energization, and I believe have some sweet memories of iEnergizer. So probably we'll connect over that. Pooja joins in from Delhi. Welcome, Pooja. Sonakshi is joining in from Noida. And analytics domain. Wow, wonderful. I believe that brings to me a very interesting aspect of how analytics and the other part of things, which is the creative aspect, can gel well when we are talking about as training as a profession. And that's wonderful. So welcome. And I believe that's a very interesting way of looking at things and training. Okay, so we reached up to, okay, we have covered Sonakshi. So Shishir, okay, Shishir is talking about from Delhi chapter, a public policy advocacy organization, wonderful. Sustainable energy, wow, wonderful. I believe a lot of my friends come from that area, Shishir. So that's interesting. Working on clean energy and climate change, that's another very interesting thing. That's again a very, very interesting thing because that's the upcoming thing from, as I see, from the near future also. So Pratik talked about, oh, Pratik is logging in from Crown Plaza Hotel Rohini. Okay, manager at Crown Plaza, wonderful. I'm quite sure this is the right time for you to join in as hospitality industry is going through a major churn. So I can understand that Pratik joining in from Crown Plaza, and I believe this is the right time. And we are the manager of the hotel chain of Plaza. This is the right time to invest in yourself, and then you can do a value add to your industry and as well as your hotel chain of Crown Plaza. So very welcome, Pratik. Jitendra is logging in from Lucknow, wonderful. Working from Himalaya Drug Company, zonal training manager, wonderful. So we have healthcare, medical, I believe that's what and have entered, you can say, from hospitality industry also coming in. That's again a very, very good combination to have. So some of the warriors are also should be here. We'll definitely probably share some of our experiences to learn from each other also during this session. Moving on, Jitain from Lucknow, I believe. Yeah, I talked about it. Welcome, Jitain. Manali is joining in from New Delhi as a BDM from Himalaya, and 1 year working as a trainer for sales executive. Wonderful, wonderful. Himalaya, I believe Himalaya is what I'm understanding. Manali is the drugs part of this thing, Himalaya organization. So wonderful. Welcome, Manali, and I believe that's the good spectrum to have right now, because that would have a larger connect as I see from the audience, which you will be able to impact value in this training fraternity. And I believe ample amount of growth and opportunity is in front of us as faculty, trainers, and executive people, as leaders also, in fact. So welcome, Manali. Sudeep is joining in from Noida Chapter. Welcome from Dadri, and freelance HR advisor and trainer. Welcome, Sudeep, and I believe that's welcome to this journey. Rupesh is joining in from Ghaziabad, logistics, corporate Gurgaon, impart training. I'm certified NLP practitioner. Oh, wonderful, Rupesh. So definitely let's keep sharing some of the best practices of NLP also, and I'm quite sure, Rupesh, you'll be able to add that during this course of our journey when we are interacting. So welcome, Rupesh. Prateek, okay, thank you. Okay, coming to it. Piyush is joining in from Lucknow chapter. Okay, wonderful. Welcome, Piyush. Divya is from Delhi. Welcome, Divya. Shalu is joining from Kochi chapter. Welcome. I really love that. I'll be Shalu joining in from Kochi chapter. That's the beauty of the virtual platform. We have broken the boundaries, and that's what I was talking in the morning also. Because of the virtual platform, I believe the spread has all of a sudden increased for trainers as well as the trainee, I believe, or you can say the mentor or the mentee or the coach or the coachee. I believe the boundaries have gone up, in fact, and the sky is the limit for all of us, I believe. So welcome to this journey from Kochi, Shalu. Gurpreet is joining in from Gurgaon. Okay, so these are all the folks who have shared where are you from. Welcome to all of you, and I believe that's a very interesting, exciting thing for all of us, including me. And I'm looking forward for this series of session which we are going to spend some time together. Because as you know, ISTD takes in one semester, we go through around a couple of sessions, which is approximately 6 hardcore sessions of interaction, which we all will be going through. And while there would be one session which we can discuss as a review of whatever you have done, and probably if you have any doubts, questions, and the 7th session is exactly going to be that. So welcome to this journey. Okay, I see one or two, Prerna joining in from Ranchi, and Pradeep joining in from Gurgaon. So welcome, friends and folks from all around India. I believe while I've been doing these sessions, I believe that's a very interesting way to connect over the virtual platform all across the globe. And that's the beauty of for all of us as an opportunity, as I see in the last 6 months, specifically since the lockdown and unlock has been happening. Coming to, I believe, starting the journey, I believe while we have gone through this introduction, today, this paper, I believe before we go into that, let me ask you, and probably an introduction in a different manner. I believe I'll just ask for an introduction in a little different manner for all of you. What you have to do is you have to introduce yourself, again in the chat box, with the first letter of your name. And first letter of your name, put an adjective to yourself. For example, my name is Shailesh, and it starts with S. So I can say smart Shailesh. So S has to be put as an adjective to myself. I can even say silent Shailesh. So you have to pick up your name and the first letter of your name and give an adjective it describes you. And that's how I'll prefer you to introduce yourself in this today's session, and I believe we'll pick up a cue from there, in fact. So let's quickly do that. I believe in the chat box, if you can start doing that. Okay, wonderful. I can see passionate Prateek. Wonderful. That's what is required for trainers. We have to be passionate. Even for people who we are training here, they have to be aligned to their passion, in fact, and that's very important. Jiten, you have to put it with your first letter, in fact, of your name. So Jiten, it has to be from J, because your name starts with J. So you have to give an adjective with J. And I believe that's how you can describe yourself. So Piyush also says that I believe he's passionate about himself. And that's again interesting, I believe. So we have a lot of people who are full of passion, and trainers, and a training fraternity is with passion, and I believe we are doing what we all have to do, and it's by choice, it's just not by accident. So that's good news. And we have real Rupesh, wonderful. I believe reality is the truth and the trust which you can really develop in yourself. So welcome, Rupesh. In fact, from a real person, I believe you bring in a real person as a trainer. And many times we disguise ourselves, but that's not as required. As trainers and mentees, you have to really bring out the real person behind that. It's not actually the person or the face, it's the real person. And that's what the training is all about. And what this paper is going to talk about is absolutely very, very important, Rupesh, what you talked about, the real self in that. So that's wonderful, Rupesh, real Rupesh. Oh, absolutely. Anupma says adaptable Anupma. Oh, wonderful. I believe this is something which I really like it. I love it in today's situation of the VUCA world. And I'm quite sure you must have heard about it. If you have not heard about it, I'll just explain that VUCA world, VUCA. And I believe VUCA is about vulnerability, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And I believe in this VUCA world, I believe this is very important that we need to be adaptable to whatever the situation is coming up. And Anupma, thanks for bringing that perspective, because that's how you can connect with different people, and adaptability is the key. Any business, any training, or any, you can say the college or the course curriculum itself need to be adaptable to the situation. Even if I'm quite sure all of you are aware of it, the latest education policy, the NEF, which has come out in the last July month, last July month, is now adaptable to the situation, which is what we are all going through. And I believe whatever we are going to talk about in ISTD, we have been talking, and it's not today only, we have been talking since now years. I believe is going to be there in the education policy also, which is the good news. So thanks for bringing that perspective, adaptable, Anupma. We have Super Somain. Oh, wow, absolutely great, Super Somain. So I believe the superpower of the trainer also has to go in, and I believe we'll talk about that as we go along. Honest Hemant. That's again interesting. Nagpur, from Nagpur. Welcome, Hemanji. And I believe honesty is something very, very important. Not only as a trainer, I believe as the person whom you are probably training, and the trainee, or the person, the coachee, as I call it, in fact. So coach and coachee has to be honest to each other to make the maximum benefit out of the journey. And I believe that's what exactly is very interesting for our profession, and I believe the passion which we have been talking about. Shishir talks about sanguine. Sanguine, oh wow, interesting. This is a new word. Shishir, can you unmute yourself and explain this word, and it will be a good insight for all of us. If you can just explain this word sanguine.
Yeah, sure, Shailesh. So sanguine basically means having a very positive and optimistic outlook in an adverse situation in time. So I thought it was quite appropriate in the times that we are living in, that if we want to have that sort of an attitude, and I'm an ever optimist and a positive individual otherwise also.
Thanks a lot. Absolutely, Shishir. Thanks for adding one more vocabulary to my dictionary, and I really love that. And that's the beauty of this exercise. We actually are going to be sharing and learning from each other. So I am not a trainer here, and I am not a trainer here. It may be a shocker to you, but I'm not a trainer here. So I believe I'm going to make sure that we are sharing and learning from each other, and that's what we'll do in the next couple of weeks and couple of months. So while ISTD called us Indian Society for Training and Development, I have been vouching for an ISLD. So ISLD talks about the Indian Society for Learning and Development rather than training and development. So the focus should be more on learning rather than training itself. And that's the paradigm shift which we are all living with, and we should live for that. Okay, so moving on, I believe I have covered Shishir. Master Mahesh, okay, wow, wonderful. I really love that. Master Mahesh, it's something very important. We have to really live by that. Dependable, Dhananjay, absolutely, we have to be dependable, because somebody who is going to depend on us, we have to be making sure that they can depend on us. If we have given an advice, if we have given a guidance, if we have given some kind of a consulting to our, you can say, whoever the client or the coachee, I believe they should be able to depend on that advice, because it should have vetted out. We should be able to walk the talk also at many times. And that's very, very important. Okay, creative Chandan, and I believe that's very, very important in this journey of the cognitive part, what we are going to talk about it, Chandan. So we saw that analytics part of it. We have one of our friends, she was analytics, but I believe Chandan brings in the creative element, which is the other side of the spectrum, which is something very, very important. Manali is magnanimous. Manali, absolutely very true. And Manali per se is very, very beautiful. And I'm magnanimous. And I believe that's what it's talking about. And is in our profession, we have to paint the big picture. And that's how I can correlate with the magnanimous. Sometimes we try to do a root cause analysis, go deep dive. But when we talk about as a bigger picture, I believe we tend to miss out sometime as trainers or as a learning faculty or itself. So the big picture in the trainee's mind, or the people who are your audience, could be leaders, could be managers, could be individual contributors, is something very, very important that we have to really add that magnanimity to the overall situation or whatever the objective of the course curriculum is. So that's a very important thing, Manali. Thanks for bringing that perspective. Strong, Shalu. Yes, absolutely. We from a mindset should be more strong, Shalu. So I believe we'll talk about this concept of mindset. Mindset has to be very, very strong. I believe in today's, say last 6 months, people who will survive the businesses are very strong from mindset. I have been trying to help many of the, you can say the CEOs or the managing directors of the companies as a consultant who are in MSME area. And some of them have really started taking a turn. And I believe in this last 3 months since the unlock started, they have started really coming out of the situation, fighting the battle of whatever the situation are there. And one thing which has discriminated or really brought them out is the strongest mindset. So thanks, Shalu, for bringing that. Valiant Vandana Yadav, thank you. Thanks. Absolutely lovely. I believe that's something again very, very important. I believe somebody has to mute yourself. I would request everybody to unmute. If you are probably need to interact, you have to unmute yourself and then you have to raise your hand. Probably I can request and then you can unmute yourself and we can interact. That will create the decorum of the virtual platform. And I believe I'll just put that decorum. I'm quite sure by now you have been already using in the last 6 months and already there. Gracious Gurpreet, wonderful. That's a very, very important thing. I believe that brings in a lot of dynamism, in fact, as a trainer or faculty itself. Sevi Sonakshi, very, very important. Powerful Pradeep, very, very important. The powerful, I'll take a cue. Your message as a trainer has to be powerful. So I use that as what are the words which you are using. The choice of words which you are using as a trainer has to be powerful. So that's why Pradeep bringing that perspective is something very, very important. Sharp Sudeep, and I believe that's again, I really like it. Sharpness is something like a laser sharp focus. And I believe that's what is required for us and as well as the trainees to basically bring in the connectivity with anybody who is there in this overall world. And I believe thank Prateek for sharing the VUCA world and overall, you can say the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, and how we need to really focus, I believe, in this journey. We'll talk about it as we go along. So moving on, I believe playful puja, and I believe that's again interesting. The gamification. I believe the gamification in the training, and that's what again we'll talk in the training methodology. So gamification in training is again a very, very important methodology. How do you gamify that and bring the connectivity and attention of a trainer? I believe is again very, very important. So Puja, thanks for bringing that actually very, very important word of playful puja. Advantageous Atul. Advantageous Atul. Okay. I can see very interesting word advantageous. Atul, do you want to explain that? You can unmute yourself and explain that. How do you describe advantageous Atul in fact for yourself?
I will try to do it in fewer words possible.
Sure.
Which probably would mean being creative, favorable, creating favorable increase the chance of success or effectiveness. Something that I always offer as a solution to people around me, and I think that always works
Wonderful.
in their favor.
And I believe I understand you are from Dell, Atul, if I'm not wrong. Wonderful.
Yes,
so
I am.
Believe when you talk about Dell, I am quite sure. Have you seen what is the one thing very, very different Dell has done in the last couple of years as an industry? Have you really observed that? Which has given an advantage to Dell? Atul, you are there? Atul, can you hear me out? Are you there? I am not able to, we are not able to hear you, Atul. Okay, I believe we have lost Atul. So we'll pick up that thread again, because that word of advantageous has got a little deeper root as I was trying to demystify, and we'll talk about that as we go along. I'll give you a framework around that, which is advantageous, and I believe you can pick up some cues from there. Radiant, Ranjita, absolutely very, very important. You have to be radiant, and I believe I really feel as trainers we have to have our own personal brand, and I believe that's and you have to carry that personal brand also. You have to take it forward, and I believe you should be able to radiate that at any point of time, anywhere, in fact. So carrying that brand is also very, very important, which is your personal brand. And thanks for bringing that perspective, Ranjita. Absolutely very, very true. Ardent, Abhishek. Okay, very good. Anna, I believe you have to mute yourself, I believe. So if you're probably talking behind the scene. Okay. Prashnet Priyanka, we talked about powerful prerna. We talked about Dr. Ashok Kumar Panda from Bhubaneswar. Okay, we are aspirational Aditya. Okay, Atul has probably logged out. He's joining in again. Amiable Anna, wonderful. I really like these qualities, which is going to discriminate you, and probably you can really make sure that in VUCA environment you can really do that. Determined Divya, very, very good. Dhiren Kumar Verma from Dehradun. Okay, that's the introduction. Positive trainer, absolutely required for a trainer. Reliable, Rahul, very, very true. Transform, okay. Shreya, you have to really use the adjective from your first letter. So it has to start from S. Yes, transformation is important, but it has to start with the first letter of that. Reliable, Rahul, thank you. Absolutely good. Okay, so I've covered all of you. Thanks for that. And I believe that's a quick introduction for all of us. What I want is I am going to pose a question to all of you. And probably this question, when I'm going to pose, you can raise your hand, and I'll ask some of you to basically answer that over this. And my request to you is you can switch on your video also. And probably then interaction will become more and more meaningful. You can switch on your video, you can unmute yourself, and then we'll talk about it, and we'll have a quick conversation over that. So my question to all of you, and I believe whoever wants to answer that, probably you can raise your hand, is what is success for you? What is success for you? In fact, if you can define that, what is success for you? And I believe that's something very, very important with the introduction which you have given, and what the context which I'm trying to bring. I believe you can raise your hand in the chat, in the participant window. If you go on the participant window, you can raise your hand there. Yes. So Shreya, I can see your hand raised, so you can unmute yourself, you can switch on your camera, and I believe we can talk, while others can also really prepare themselves. So Shreya, I believe, yes, go ahead. I believe, Shreya, you can.
Sir, I won't be able to use my camera. There's some problem.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
For me, success is, I have a list of things which I have decided, because every goal has a deadline, and I have various goals. It's not one. So I have list of goals which has deadline, and reaching to that deadline is reaching to my goal with that deadline is my success. As of now, ISTD for maybe within 1 year, 8 months. And with that, I also want to become a successful trainer as of now. So this, I'm working on it. But as of now, this is my goal. So
Wonderful.
Success is a list of, I have a big list. So which a goal with a deadline. So that is, achieving that would be a success for me.
Okay. So I believe the way I am probably visualizing, the way you have defined success for yourself here, I believe is quite close to, I believe, SMART goals. I believe everybody understands the SMART goals. I believe, I'm quite sure. Do you know that, Shreya? I believe we can talk for some time. Yeah.
Yes, SMART goals. Yes, I know.
So do you want to explain it for everybody's benefit?
As for specific, M for measurable, A for attainable, R for reliable, and T for timeline.
Time bound. Absolutely. So I believe the way you describe your success, that I believe the success for you is achieving your goal in a defined timeline, is what the way you have defined it as a SMART goal. And nothing wrong in that, absolutely fine. But many times you may have small goals. So you can say short-term goals, medium-term goals, long-term goals. But you may have also strategic goals, transactional goals, transformational goals. So I'm just trying to put you a thinking cap on your self, and I will think about it. Which goal will really determine for your success? So think about that. Let me try to move on to Maheshji. I believe I can see Maheshji, and then we'll come to Rupesh Rai. So Maheshji, you can unmute yourself, switch on your camera, and we can talk.
Thank you, Sarajji. Good afternoon, everyone. So my point, success is very different word for me. Being a son of an auto rickshaw driver and reaching to this place, success only conclude to me when I see happiness on my dad's and my family's face. I think that ends the story anywhere. In terms of a professional thing, I've been drawing my lines, achieving my goals, and so far I've been able to conclude and reach to the point that I've been marked uh, as an associate vice president with the organization in over about 17 years of experience. I think I've made my mark there, and I've still on the path of making it a lot of different.
Wonderful, wonderful. Rupesh, I believe very well defined, and I believe you can convey. I believe let's just convey.
Mahesh.
Sorry, Mahesh, I'm sorry. Mahesh, that's absolutely fine. I believe the way you defined it, I really loved it. From a son of an auto driver, and I can really visualize the way you might be feeling proud in your father's eye. Yeah, I believe whatever you are doing, I believe that's what I believe success to you is, and it's a beautiful way of looking at it because I have been doing some volunteering services in my some of the village schools. गांव के बच्चों के साथ मैं करता हूँ, उसमें मेरे बहुत सारे बच्चे ऐसे हैं which who are actually the rickshaw puller's son or the आपके जो grocery बेचने वाले लोग हैं उनके, and auto drivers also, and the mechanics and daughters. And recently I could see that success in one of the child, in fact, who she was actually associated with us for 5 years, and she recently in UP board got the second position. With whatever we are doing, in fact, trying to develop her from nearly, let's say, 5th class till 10th class, and 10th class, she really got her second position. And the way success for her was that happiness in her eyes as well as their family's eyes. And I can visualize that the way I could see, Mahesh, you were talking about it. So very good, very well defined that, Mahesh. Thanks for sharing that. Moving on to Rupesh ji, over to you. Rupesh ji, what is success to you?
Yes, yes. Actually, if I can afford to do what I like to do, then I am successful. So I believe in that line. If I can afford what I like to do, then I am successful.
Wonderful. I believe you have brought in a new definition of if you can afford. So there is some bit of a monetization or some bit of a commercialization कि मेरे पास समय होगा तभी मेरे पास success होगा या मेरे पास पैसा होगा तभी successful होगा. So keep that in mind.
Afford doesn't mean you have to spend something. Afford means what you like to do. If you can do, then you may be successful.
So I believe the point I'm saying is you are dependent on something to be successful. So I'll probably give you my own, for the benefit of everybody's example. Even I am dependent on something just to live. What Rupeji, what you're saying. My success to me is growing by growing others to grow. The mantra of success for me is growing by growing others to grow. If Rupesh ji, you will grow in your career wherever you are and whatever you're trying to do, if you will grow in your profession, in your business, in your journey, or whatever the journey which you are going to do, I will actually grow. So that way, in the last 5.5 years since I have become an entrepreneur now, and a business person and as well as a faculty I have been a faculty in Skill India for entrepreneurship, also touching around 21 states of India, and I've touched 25,000 direct lives, like whatever 46 of us are right here. I've touched around 25,000 people directly, and indirectly, like with people like you, I've touched around 4.5 lakh people in 21 states of India. So I am also dependent on somebody else's success. So my dependence, so only thing is, if my people or my mentees or my coaches or my leaders who are in different places or my trainers who are all across India, 135 crore people, we have a huge base in India as well as global. So I believe there's an ample amount of opportunity, abundance. That's what the mindset of our abundance is there. So there's ample amount of opportunity in India to basically really create that opportunity of success. And that's how I believe in. So thanks a lot for Rupeji for sharing that. And I'll give 2 more chances to 2 more hands, which I see, Priyanka and Pradeep ji. Priyanka and Pradeep ji, and I believe these are the 2 last ones. I believe we close for today's interaction part of this session, in fact. So Priyanka, over to you. You can unmute yourself, switch on your camera, and we can talk.
All right. Hi. So, sir, listening to the others, like when I have to define success, so certainly that is something which is different for different people. Something which is success for me may not be success for the other person. So, one possible way of defining success can be when you realize your worthy goals. Like so, I would like to quote it in this way: something which gives you satisfaction, something which gives you a feeling of that the contented, that you are contented. Like I would like to quote like, knowing in the morning I knew that my household would not be coming today because she's not well. So you have to manage your family, you have to manage your kid who's not well. At the same time, you have to manage all the 4 sessions without any kind of disturbance. So I believe that this is again a success. So for me, if I have to define it, so I would consider it as a success for the day. Right. So success is something which is which is a process. It is not something which will stop at a place. So one thing for me, it is when you realize that what are the worthy goals and how you have to do what you are supposed to do for that, and what makes you happy is certainly success for me.
Wonderfully defined, Priyanka. And I believe the way I could visualize the way you have defined success is how do you keep a balance in your personal and professional life. Personal and professional life balance, ghar bhi samalna hai, and I believe you have to manage the work also. And that's how the success is there. And it's very true. And I believe today those definitions of work-life balance between personal and professional lives have diminished. How do you really do that? Because ab to aapka ghar mein hi, your office is your home and your home is your office. So how do you really demarcate that, when to draw a line, when you have to really put in that I believe now I'm going to working. And I believe when I'm going to basically do, in fact, as my household work, as you beautifully gave an example of household matters, and I believe the best managers and the best MBA people are the housewives. You are the best people, in fact, as the best managers. How do you manage? Agar aap log manage nahi karte, we'll never get our food. Hame khane nahi milega, in fact, I believe right from the breakfast to the dinner. So you are the best managers, no doubt about it, and keeping a balance and a successful, that professionally and personally you are able to deliver that. That's how bring the satisfaction and happiness. Thanks for sharing that, Priyanka, and I believe I really like that. So Pradeep ji, over to you, I believe, to share your definition of success. Pradeep ji, over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Salesh. Thank you very much. So for me, success is all, what I could understand is like following passion. That, sometimes you're talking about like, I'm interested in something at the age of 10. And if you're able to achieve the same, if you're able to contribute on that interest at the age of 30, 40, 45, for me, that is a success. You start with a dream that, I want to become a doctor, and then you will become a doctor one day. For me, that is a success. Instead of changing your goals, because financial things and all those things change according to the need and time. But for me, if you retain throughout your life as per your passion and work in that industry, for me, that is a success.
I believe, Pradeep ji, you brought in another dimension, and I believe you brought in a dimension of a dream. And I believe passion and dream, I like that, and I believe everybody will remember that. What one of my mentors, and I believe I'm quite sure you will be able to correlate that from one of my mentors who said that dreams are not those which are seen when you're sleeping. Dreams are those which don't allow you to sleep. Yeah. So I believe, and you can very well correlate whom I'm quoting, in fact. Yes. So he has been my mentor, in fact, and I would love to basically live the life which he has lived. He has been a mentor and a leader, and who gave the visualization of science and spirituality will be the gurus of this India. Yes. And you are seeing that today. You are seeing that today, how the world all across in the last 6 months has been watching India. Everybody, you talk about any country of 190 UN country or any of these worldwide countries, they are watching India, 135 crore people. What are they doing? How are they managing themselves? Otherwise, this pandemic or this would have grown outbound. This would have gone out of control. China is the only one who is above us, in fact, in population. Yes. They are not a democratic country. They have a different kind of a governance system. They can manage things differently. But India cannot manage that way. India is a democratic country. So the world today is watching that with a mentor. And this statement came out from one of this mentor, not today. It was 20 years back. And I believe when he had painted this and became the missile man and the president of India, beautifully, I believe, really created a path for many of us. Yes. And that's what I believe we are living today. And I believe we have to leave some legacy now. Yep. He has left a legacy for us. And we as trainers and faculty have to leave some legacy for us, for the people of the generation which are going to come out. So what are we leaving behind? I believe something very, very important, And that's what we are going to talk about. So thanks, Pradeep ji, for sharing, I believe, this beautiful perspective of how dreams and passion really help us to achieve whatever the success is there. Thanks a lot for that. So friends, I believe with this quick context setting, let me just try to, I know all of you must be seeing, till now nobody has shown another presentation. So, or a PPT for half an hour has gone by. So I'm quite sure if you're so desperate about seeing the PPT is right there. So that's how I look at it. PPTs are there, but PPT is only an aid or a tool. That's how I look at it. Okay, I can see some responses in the chat box. So Ranjita is talking about success is ikigai for me. Wonderful. I really love that because I have one of my modules on emotional intelligence, and that's how ikigai talks about it. Ranjita very well said. Knowing the reason for being. I believe that's absolutely, as human beings, there has to be a reason. It's not human doing, it's human beings. So I really like that. The reason for getting up in the morning, direction of purpose in life, what you love, what you are good at, and what you can be paid at, and what the world needs. Thanks a lot for the beautiful definition, Ranjita, and I really like the way you have put that whole definition of success for you. And I'm quite sure you are living by that definition. And I'm going to tell you, in fact, this definition will take you leaps and bounds as you go along. So all the people who have shared it, wonderful. Thanks for sharing that, either in the chat box or with us interactively, because most of my sessions are going to be very interactive. So even if you have not spoken, not to worry, we have a way to go. In fact, we have many sessions to come up. I believe I'm just going to basically go on to tell you what this paper 3 is all about in ISTD, and training methods and cognitive way of doing that. So let me ask some people who have not spoken. जिन्होंने नहीं बोला है, I want them to speak right now. So again, people who have raised their hands, I believe they can pull it down now. जिन्होंने पहले raise किया था, please pull it down so that I believe the new people can raise their hands. If you have not spoken, I believe that would be helpful. So I believe Shriya, Priyanka, and Pradeep, please put your hand down. So I believe that way others can now raise hands. That's how I want more and more participation, and everybody. Sabka saath, sabka vikas wala hal. So I believe, so we want everybody to participate. So I want somebody else to basically share what is your way of understanding by this topic of training methods cognitively. And I believe because this session of mine and the next session which Colonel Dikshit will be taking, I believe is on training methods. But there's a little difference in cognitive way and what he's going to talk about it. So what is your understanding about training methods and cognitive? Because you are all experienced professionals. So what is your understanding on cognitive? Okay, so who wants to go ahead and share? Okay, Atul, I see, has raised his hand. Okay, Atul, yes, go ahead. I believe you can start the journey and we'll have more people joining the battle. So Atul, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Well, whatever little understanding, I can talk about the cognitive method. It's more of giving theoretical training to the trainees. Within this, we apply methods under cognitive approach. Certain things about which are more written or verbal information demonstrating the relationship amongst different concepts of training. So that's pretty much.
Okay. So I believe I'm just listening right now. Atul, I'm not reacting to that. So anyway, this paper is all about that. So we'll talk more about it.
Sure.
But I'm just trying to get some responses from everybody. So anybody else who would like to explain, I believe, this definition of cognitive training methods?
It's a training to improve one's memory of perception, reasoning, planning part, basically. Okay. That is cognitive training.
Okay. I believe, again, you brought in an interesting perspective about how somewhere I could really see the thinking part of it, part, the brain part. While Atul was talking about the theory part, you are trying to bring in more about the thinking part, Sudeepji. Is that
That's right? Yes, sir. That's
wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for bringing the different perspective of that. Let's have 2 more views and then we'll proceed. Let's have 2 more views. Yes, Arumpa.
Yeah, so what I understand from cognitive way of training is basically the pedagogy of training, theoretically coming up with concepts or the concepts that are already there, that exist, and through which we can understand and enhance the existing mental processing of a human. in
Absolutely.
professional life and personal life.
Okay. Okay. I would request us everybody to be on mute while Anupma is talking. Thank you. Yeah, Anupma, go ahead.
It's not just about mental processes like judgment and everything. It's also about the conditioning from the beginning of the training and till the end of the training part, when you actually apply it in your practical work in office, in workplaces.
Okay. Okay. I believe, Anupma, are you from psychology?
Yeah, I'm actually a postgraduate student. Yeah, less experience, but still it's interesting to learn.
Absolutely. The way you defined it, I believe I could probably guess it, and probably I believe the way you introduced it, probably I could recollect from that. So
Yeah.
thanks for bringing some of those classical definitions of cognitive way of doing things, and how do you build a concept. And let me ask you, Anupma, I believe just to what I did in the first 30 minutes, what did I do?
So basically what you did was to understand what everybody originally can let out from their thinking process. Like how can they use it originally without being affected by something external. So before you could condition in such a way how we think, you asked us how we feel about something, some object or some concept that's already there. So yeah, and then further discuss it and then come up with a result at the end.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks. I believe that's the reason. And I believe people who are doing something in psychology or NLP, which I believe if people are not aware of, NLP it's called neuro-linguistic programming, not the computer one. There's NLP there also. So we are talking about these concepts which we are discussing of cognitive talks about some of these things which all of us are discussing right now. Okay, so I see some of others have raised their hand. I can see who has not answered. Shishir. So Shishir, I believe you can go ahead and share your view. Yeah, Shishir.
No, I would just agree with what Anupma just now said. So if one can be brave enough and say that this is more of like trying to rewire our thinking, rewiring our mind, and reframing our thoughts so that we start thinking differently, and that's what training is. This part of this way of training and development is about.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot. And Shishir, where are you coming in from? What's your background?
So I have now I work in the not-for-profit space, but I have worked in banks. I am a professional banker for last about 17 odd years. I worked with Standard Chartered for a fairly long period of time, and I was very fortunate to work in that organization because I believe it's a great learning organization, and that's where some of these concepts of training and development I was exposed to. And I am otherwise a business management graduate, and that's what it is.
And Sushil, the financial models, are you selling some of the financial models which the bankers really do that?
I used to, that's how I used to earn my living, but now I don't. Now I'm trying to save the planet, and I hope I get support from all of us here on saving the planet.
I can guess that. I can guess that, Shishir. That's the reason I asked you, because some of the financial models actually do this.
Yeah. That's what it is. The attempt is to generally to try to integrate that thinking and bring it to mainstream. Yeah, agree with you.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Okay. I have who else I can see who has not participated. Okay. Pradeep ji and Rupesh, I believe I can see your hands raised. Do you want to give some definition to cognitive thinking? I believe otherwise we can proceed. Okay. So, Ashok ji, I can see your mic unmuted. I believe. Do you want to share, sir?
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, it is a mental, processing of what is in your mind and how it actually impacts on your thinking. I feel it is like that.
Okay. Okay. And I believe, and the way you defined it, I believe, how does it impact somebody else? Is the energy of which some people call that the energy which is flowing from one mind, or the emotions which are flowing from one person's heart to the other person. And is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, it can also be empathy. It can also be empathy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Where
so I believe.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Very, very well said, I believe. So I believe there is some kind of a mindset which we are talking about, and we can influence and inspire and impact somebody else. And that's what probably is also a cognitive way of doing things. And beautifully, probably it can be correlated that way.
Thank
So
you.
thanks a lot for sharing that, Ashokji. Rupesh, I believe you wanted to say something?
Yes, sir. Actually, cognitive means it's a perception, or we can say how we think, a study of mind, you can say. And in NLP, actually, perceptions means personal receptions. So we understand the personal reception of the individual first. Then we can implement, or we can set our set to how we impart training to those individuals. So that's
Okay.
it from my side.
Wonderful. Absolutely fine. So you talked about imparting the training, and we'll talk about the methods part comes in imparting actually. So when you're imparting
First,
something,
we should understand the, yeah.
Absolutely. So that's what the methodology is. In cognitive also, there are different methods to really impact that or impart that training. And that's what we are going to talk about in this paper 3. And that's what we are talk about it. So I believe by now, we have got very familiar with mute, unmute, raising your hand, online chat and video, and I believe participant window. So I believe everybody just keep that in decorum, because it's a virtual platform and we have to make the best use of that. So once again, this is what exactly Shailesh, and this is how I am being recognized. But little did I know, I've been using this gesture since last 12 years. But in the last 6 months, this has become a global phenomenon. And everybody does this and doing a namaskar. And that's what I keep welcoming all of you and everywhere in the last 6 months and probably in the last 12 years by a namaskar. Because this gives a very different meaning and a message to everybody. And I'm quite sure we will appreciate that all these fingers are different. And all these fingers are different, and so are we. And I believe 45 people of us, we are all different. And when you bring all of us together, and right now the way we are going to spend 90 minutes together, I believe when we come around and we are spending time together, it becomes a namaskar. And somebody said beautifully, I believe, that how the energy flows. So the overall, my energy, when I'm talking about it, it is flowing to all of you from 44 people out here. Again, keep that in mind. The technology of Zoom or this platform or the mobile or the laptop on which you have logged in is just the wire media to take the signals or my voice or my video to you. But there's an energy which is still reaching from my mind to your mind and from my heart to your heart. So keep that in mind, how a trainer can still keep an impact and an influence in a virtual mode, which has become a reality of today. Because in the next 2 to 3 years, this is the latest platform of really making a difference as trainers and faculty. And as leaders, if people who are creating, you can say, conducting a meeting all across, virtual is going to be the ways or the new normals of working things. Even now, the curriculums are going to be designed in a blended method, and that's what this training methodology is going to be talking about. So what is the blended method of training? While in corporate world, we were already doing this from last more than 15 years. But now in the education world, this has started very recently because of the situation. So I believe this is something which we all have to learn and start practicing in whichever organization or a profession or wherever we are, in fact, and that's something that's going to help us. So this we did. I believe the introduction we already did, and I believe we have already done that. This is just to give you a quick introduction about myself, and I happen to be an engineer from computer science. And I did my post-graduation from strategic business management from Extra Jamshedpur. I am a certified facilitator, leadership facilitator, as well as innovation and coach and ideation and innovation evangelist, working with different corporates and MSMEs to basically add value to their businesses and to their overall, you can say, the organization or the leadership team or the middle management itself. That's what my focus has been in the last couple of years, more than now 12 years in this. Otherwise, I was working as a business person. What else? I believe because, okay, I have worked in various industries because we have healthcare, we have BFSI, we have telecom, mobility, we have IT, I saw somewhere, tourism is there, manufacturing also. One of my specializations is on intellectual property rights, because that's what I believe is going to be the in thing for startups, because startups are going to use that. And if you are mentoring and guiding startups, and I do that all across the globe, some of the startups I'm working with them to really bring out some innovative ideas in the last couple of years, and that's going to differentiate them in the coming years. And many of them will go through some kind of angel investors or venture capitalists. So this is in a brief, in a nutshell, I believe is what is a quick introduction. And this is what exactly are the three people who are behind me, who run the show and keeps my personal and professional life balanced. Otherwise, mujhe khana bhi nahi milega and I'll not be able to survive and I'll not be able to do what I am doing. So that's what exactly has been keeping me kicking and I believe running. I will just like to hold you for a minute here. And even if some of you, I can see some of you are from a mobile. Can somebody mention that what are you seeing right now? What are you seeing on the screen right now? If you can put it in the chat box, what do you see here?
QR code.
QR code.
Wonderful. And how do you scan this QR code? It's not a barcode, it's a QR code. Barcode is different. So even if you, just to give you an example, if you want to use your mobile and go to your Paytm or probably if you want to use Google Chrome on a mobile hand phone and type online QR code scanner. Just type.
So that is a 3SR consultancy that you are the owner or maybe the manager of.
Absolutely bang on. So you are very fast. I believe that's amazing. I believe you have reached so fast. So if you have really done that, that's amazing. And that's what exactly I wanted you to realize. Because this ways of training, I believe we were using like a digital method, not only in the last 6 months. We have been doing this from last so many years now. And whether you do a physical auditorium or a classroom session, or whether you do a virtual session like the way we are doing it right now, the training methods have changed. And that's what I want everybody to appreciate, that this is all whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm showing you is all freely available on the internet. Everybody is providing you, Google is providing you, all these things is available to you, in fact, free of charge, and you can really use that. And that's how.
Absolutely, sir. I mean, sorry to interrupt. This is, of course, one of the most interactive augmented reality tools that different brands also use to keep their new launches of products interactive with the customers and engaged within their new product line. So I'm sure the VR and the augmented reality tools are the upcoming technologies which even can be used at a very layman and a very raw level, so that people find it more fascinating to involve in such practices and such tools to learn the things which used to be learned in the most traditional ways could be the most fun and interactive.
Absolutely right, Divya. So, and I believe the way you brought in, I believe I just wanted to bring in that aspect for everybody. The first thing which we talked about in training methodology, cognitive, was the mindset. And we talked about the mindset which is required. And the second thing which I'm talking right now and which you picked up, Divya, is tools. And tool set is something very, very important in the training methodology which you have to use. And the third thing I want, over a period of time, I want somebody to realize that there's a third element also. We'll talk about it as we go along in this journey. So we talked about mindset and tool set, and we'll talk about the other things. So this paper 3, which you are talking about it in this semester, has this kind of a curriculum which is in front of you right now. And in all these 6 classes and the 7th class in the review or the Q&A class, I believe Q&A, you don't have to wait for the 7th session. You can keep asking it. I believe you can raise hands. You can put it in the chat box, and I'll try to make sure that we are able to. Noida chapter are there already in a WhatsApp group where I am also there. If you have some queries, you can reach out to me. You have my number there, and I believe we can be connected and we'll make sure that I believe you are successful in your journey itself. So these are all the topics which we will be covering as we go along in this paper itself, module 3, paper 3, training methodology, cognitive itself. So I just want to pause here. If anybody has anything in specific coming into their mind, I believe, which you had, which you wanted to basically learn in this method of training cognitive, and if this syllabus does not cover, please let me know right now so that I can make sure that in some of the session I'll make sure they are getting covered in one way or the other, and I believe I'll be able to help add value to that. So anybody has any other thing which you want to probably learn, and I'm quite sure by now all of you must have heard about 2 books which are going to be Bible for you from a theory perspective, because you will have to, end of the day, clear your exams also. So one book is this one. I'm quite sure you must have seen it. Let me just probably do this. And if I Okay, let me speak our view. Okay. Hello. Okay, so if you can see this, this is the book which I am referring to. This is training and development method, and Vermaji has already mentioned it. If you go to chapter number 6 in that, chapter number 6 is actually talking about this topic of whatever I showed you in the slide. So don't worry on the theory part of it. Theory is right there in those two books. And the other book is also being mentioned about is Every Trainer's Handbook. This is also there referred to you. It's there in your mailbox. People who are first timers, in fact, who are just starting off. This is something, another book. There again, I'll mention the chapter when I refer to those books, and you can go back and refer to the theory part of it for your written exam, because you will have to clear your written exam somewhere in the semester, towards the end of the semester. So let me ask probably all of you, in fact, because we have a large crowd, and everybody, as I mentioned, will be different, has our different priorities. So if we have whatever this we have, and we are talking about three things, whatever you saw as a curriculum is actually going to give you some skills of the cognitive way of doing a training methodology. So we are talking about three things: mindset, skill set, and tool set. Mindset, skill set, and tool set. So these are the three things which we'll be covering in all these things, and with the curriculum which we talked about it. While whatever we have done in the last 50 minutes, while 50 minutes have passed on, another similar time is left till 3:30. I want you to basically just give me a quick voting of your view of looking at it. So if we have 100% of time, 100% of time, how much time will you like things to be more practical? That's the first number. And the second number is how much percentage of time you like it to be theory. So I just want to keep a balance. And if you can put that in the chat box, for example, if you say 50% is, sorry, 60% is practical and 40% is theory, just type 60:40. So I'll know that what is your preference: more practical, more less theory, or probably equal weightage, or more less practical, more theory. I mean, what's your preference? If you can just put that in the chat box, I'll get a quick sense of your priorities of how much balance I believe I need to do. Because till now, I mean, whatever I've done is basically just giving you a practical experience of the cognitive way of doing things. Theory to abhi maine cover ki nahi hai. Theory to I believe it will come as we go along. So I believe I'm just trying to see practical versus theory. So I'm just getting a sense of what is your preference and priority, and you will also be able to see that how people are seeing that, wishing that. So okay, keep going, keep going. I believe I want everybody to give their views, because end of the day the session is for you. I believe the session is for you, and I believe you are here to take the maximum advantages from all around India. So, and as I know, everybody has got a different liking and interest. So I'll try to take some view on that. So that's how I prefer to go with with a common consensus, how people prefer. Okay. Okay, okay. Okay, good sense. I'm getting a good sense of everybody is probably voting out. Okay, okay. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So my only request to people, whoever probably at an average, I'll take an average of whatever you people have shared, and then trying to balance it out as we go along in this journey. And do not mind, I believe somehow it will be balanced, because if there is a theory paper, we can go deep dive and have a separate last session focused to your doubts of theory also. So if we cover more practical and less theory, so we'll take the last session more theory. And vice versa, if we probably would have done more theory and less practical, we would have covered the last session as the practical. So I believe not to worry, I believe that's how the last session has been created that way. 50-50 is a very diplomatic answer, so I probably will suggest not to use that, because then you are not taking a side. So I'll prefer that even if you have to write a verdict of a company, it is 51-49, never 50-50. So I believe 50-50 is a dangerous one. Please put your stance as where do you want to take it, because somewhere you have to take a choice. Somewhere you have to make your choices, and you are or we are based upon our choices. So please make your choices judiciously, because we make our career and lives according to choices. So that's why my request is do not be very, very neutral from 50-50 perspective. Okay, so I've got a fair idea. I believe we'll work on that. I'll make sure that I can try to give most of the people try to. I may not be able to satisfy everybody, but definitely try to make the best use of the time and the audience which we have. Okay, so let me go back to where we were. So let me try to bring in the element of this paper. And I believe, and this paper talks about education is not the learning of facts, it's rather the training of mind to think. And this is what exactly we have been talking about it, and we'll make sure that this journey makes us think differently, and the mindset is one of the key areas of cognitive way of doing things. And I'll give you a framework, if not today, next session, and that's what you will try to see, what are the frameworks as a brain which we can use to make sure that as a trainer we can make the best use of that for ourselves as well as for the people who are there. So what made them extinct, whatever you see, I'm quite sure everybody will be able to guess it, but I want you to answer that, what made them extinct, and they are there in the museum. So what is your view on, when you see this picture, what comes in your mind? Ye kis liye disappear ho gaye? Why did they become extinct and they are only available in museum? So I believe either you can put it in the chat box or you can even unmute and answer that, in fact. So who would like to probably put it in the chat box, and probably some of you can really answer that in the
Sir, they were not able to adapt to the changes.
Okay, very good. So Prateek says, I believe they were not able to adapt to the changes. So what happened, I believe, what were they not able to adapt to?
Climatic change.
Climatic change. Okay, wonderful. So adaptation was one of the somebody is saying climate change not adaptable and failure to evolve. Wonderful. I believe the evolution things are happening, and if you do not evolve, I believe things will fail. And I believe many people will actually vouch for it. Some companies have perished. Even companies have perished. The businesses have perished. For example, they did not adapt, they did not evolve themselves, and they did not change with the change itself. And that's what is exactly the message is all around this picture. And adaptability, as rightly said, was something very, very important. But what is more important is, I mean, how do you really take it forward? And if you see this bunch of trees, yeah, Nokia is a good example. Chandanji very well said. The company has perished, and the phone absolutely was taken over by others, in fact, who are there. So Chandanji is absolutely giving a good example. And I'm giving you another example of another adaptability, in fact, what you see in a nature, because we have people who are talking about that. So these trees, if you see, are somewhere there in New Zealand. And if you see this forest of trees, they face a lot of tough wind, very fast flowing speed of wind. And that's how these trees have started adjusting and adapting themselves to what they have really been doing. So from adaptability to adoption to the situation is something very, very important. And all of us have to really get into that. And yes, Abhishekji, Kodak was another example, as you rightly said. They did not adapt, and they did not adopt to the latest things. And again, their products really went out of, because they were the pioneers. They were having the first mover advantage. But finally, they could not take the mileage because they did not really do this, as you rightly said. Let me try to bring in another perspective of cognitive thinking. What does it strike to you when you see this book? I'm quite sure some of you may have seen this in the WhatsApp also, which was moving around very, very frequently, in fact. And if you have observed that, somebody beautifully has done that. And somebody, if you see at the backdrop, I have many books on my bookshelf. But I believe I was not so creative by somebody who was so creative in putting these books in a certain fashion. And if you see the titles of these books, and they are beautifully making a beautiful statement. So if you see this, and I'm going to read it for you, Let me read the second one. In fact, that's a very interesting one. So if you read the titles, the way they were arranged, all these books were arranged is Hope, String Eternal with a Little Bit of Luck, Common Sense, and Personal Hygiene. The common book of horror stories must end soon. Always remember, clean hands save lives. And when in doubt, don't go out. So, my dear friends, if you actually see, somebody beautifully put all these books in a creative message of what has been the reality for all of us worldwide. And that is something very, very important. How are we really trying to do that? As in our profession, in our organization, how are we trying to do that as a trainer or as a faculty or as whatever role which we may be playing? So my dear friends, the message which I'm trying to do is realign and reorganize yourself. Realign and reorganize. And that's something very, very important, friends. Because unless until we are able to realign and reorganize our time schedule, we were talking about work-life balance, and one of our friends beautifully explained how she is balancing her domestic as well as professional life, her personal and professional life. And that's exactly what we are talking about. The time management boundaries have changed. The travel boundaries have changed. The methodologies of connecting with people has changed. The way you will actually conduct sessions or meetings have changed. So how do you really need to realign and reorganize ourselves in the today's reality? Again, is a hard fact, and people who will do that will be successful. And that's what exactly creative element of that is what I'm trying to highlight that. And that's again, which is a very, very important message. I want to do that. This is the VUCA message, I believe, which we talked about it, and volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And that's what I was just leaving that message. And I'm quite sure all of you may have seen it, that we were in fear zone. We have come out in a learning zone now. And slowly we'll try to move out towards the growth zone of any situation or this pandemic, what we are going through. So this is the kind of the flux of movement which is happening. And I believe this is how the overall community of people who are changing across. And we have that extra role and responsibility as trainers and as faculty, as you can say, as a coach, mentor, guide. We have that extra responsibility of making sure that creating that fear zone is pushed back. Fear zone is pushed back and learning zone and growth zone is focused on. कहते हैं जहां फोकस करेंगे गाड़ी वहीं जाएगी. Whatever you focus on, you will move around exactly that. So we have to focus on the learning and the growth zone as we move along this journey. Again, a message on how we need to unleash our potential or unlock our potential. So I have just given us some kind of an acronym, but one of our friends, Rajiv Khurana, who's a DOS coach, has put in a beautiful definition of unlocking it. Understand the reality. And that's again a very good message of the way we have to really understand the reality and then arrange and organize our method. Because I'm going to talk about many methods of the training part of it also. So understanding which method you are going to apply where. Kis method ko aap kahan lagaoge. That's something is very, very important as trainers. And people who are going to design the curriculum or the course content which are going to deliver that. Next, probabilities, you have to explore that. Because new probabilities or the new equations or the new normals which we have been talking about will be struck down. So how are we trying to do that? I believe many people, I believe you must have seen how many webinars and everything are there, master classes and all these certification courses, even we were doing in the last 5 months. But I believe you have to keep reinventing yourself and restructuring yourself to really come out with the new probabilities. Leverage what we have and what are the resources which we have, how you are leveraging that. I'm quite sure each of your organization, wherever you are working or probably as an entrepreneur or as a freelancer, whatever resources you are, how are you leveraging those resources? Many people are getting stuck. So many people are saying bahut costly hoga. No, it's not very true. Because many resources are today free of charge available to you digitally also. Exploring those opportunities which we are striking is something for us is an opportunity. There are many platforms which have come out in the last couple of months or probably in the last 2 years for trainers. And I believe that's what will help you brand yourself and make yourself public and market yourself. And that's again very, very important. Change the blueprint. I believe that's what the way you have thought about it earlier and the way you're thinking now and the way you have to structure it for the next 2 years. You have to really do that as a trainer also, as a faculty also. So which is again very, very important. And I'm just trying to bring in the elements what we already discussed and trying to summarize that so that you do not miss out this part of it, which is very, very important. and keeping on course. Many times we digress ourselves. So while we defined our success of some time-bound goals or some dreams or passion which we are trying, kabhi we bhatak jate hain from our goals and the direction which we are going. Keep yourself that the goals or the bigger dreams don't get distorted. You can reinvent yourself, but you don't do it every now and then, because otherwise you will get defocused. So are you aligned towards the bigger goal which you have carved out for yourself? And are you moving in that? And if you are going against that, please go back and consult your mentors, coach, and guides. And that's what is very, very important, to be on the course. I do that for myself, and I do it for my coaches and mentees also. So keeping on course is something very important. For example, I can give you one of the latest example. One of my coaches, he's a managing director of a company, that's an MSME. When the unlock started happening, I believe there was a new kind of situation that he had to work with 33% people, as we all know. Out of all his employees, he could only bring 33% inside the manufacturing setup. It's not an IT setup the way you and me are talking. They can't talk on a Zoom and on a laptop or a mobile and do that manufacturing. And that's a 29% of India's GDP, my dear friends. So that part of the business has to be physically done. And this managing director, I believe we had been brainstorming and thinking on all these things, what you're seeing here, and unlocking his business potential, when the unlock happens. And this 33% posed a new kind of a challenge for one of his production line. There was a conveyor belt it was running, in fact, a conveyor belt. And on the conveyor belt, there was a product which was getting manufactured. And there were 20 people who were supposed to be there on the conveyor belt to produce whatever was supposed to be produced. But with 33% people, that means he will only get 6 to 7 people on that conveyor belt now. And he can't bring everybody out there, 20. If he does that, the rest of all the production line will close. So what do? That is the time when we started brainstorming, and to bring him on course, you still need to basically make sure that your production is up and running and you are able to sell that. We worked towards him to find out a solution. And I believe some point of time, if you are so curious, I can give you what solution I proposed to him. In fact, in this journey of how a production line really had to be structured, because keeping on courses, because many times people get digressed. He was saying, okay, sir, I'll get everybody, in fact, 20 people on one day on this conveyor belt, on some 20 people on another conveyor belt, but he would have lost his other productivity and efficiency of his overall manufacturing setup. He would have not been able to deliver to his customer whatever he was supposed to do. So he would have got diverse or digressed from his overall objective of making a deliverable to his customer with that. So how do you really bring him back as a trainer or a coach or a mentor is what I'm trying to highlight that. So be smart, and I believe this smart definition is, there are too much of stress. How do you really de-stress our people? And we talked about empathy and ikigai also. I believe one of our friends beautifully defined it. So how do you really de-stress yourself, your people and trainers, and bring some meaningfulness into whatever they're doing? Bring resilience and trust into your relationship with them. And that's again very, very important as trainers and coaches for us. So again, I'll pause here because I have just tried to set a context of this thing and whatever we are talking about it. But before I move on, let me see if anybody has any questions at this point of time. Any questions or any doubts or any even some suggestions to add to the views which I have shared. So go ahead and you can unmute yourself. You can raise your hand and I can ask you to probably go ahead and probably share your views. Okay, so let me, if all good, Pradeep, absolutely good. Let me probably ask, I've been seeing a Nokia and Kodak story. So Abhishek ji, do you want to unmute yourself and share the Kodak story which you talked about? I know that's a very interesting story for me also. So Abhishek ji, do you want to share that? What was your experience and observation on the Kodak story? Abhishek ji. Abhishek Roy, sir. Yes, sir, you can unmute yourself and share, sir. Your voice is very feeble, Abhishek ji. आपकी आवाज बहुत कम आ रही है, अभिषेक जी.
Okay, so am I audible? So,
You are audible, but आपकी voice बहुत feeble है. Keep your mic
place
close.
where the network is little is not good. So there's a little problem with the network. Audible?
Yeah,
Of all the skills
better.
recall for Kodak.
Yeah.
Better? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
thanks.
better. It's better.
So what I could recall that Kodak, they were actually the pioneers into the photography industry, and they brought in the concepts of the paper prints and also the cameras that they rolled out. However, what happened when the digital era started? So they actually lost all it, and they thought that people will stick to the to save their memories in a paper format. However, that was not the case, and that's when they failed to evolve, and they did tried hard towards the end, wherein they did try to come up with some digital cameras, which I could recall. However, still they were not very successful, and so ultimately their shop had to be closed. So they failed to evolve into what was happening, and they failed to read the mind of the customers, that how exactly in what way the consumers are going. And that exactly, I believe, what matters, that if you are not able to keep up with the pace and the time, then it definitely is going to hurt us back.
Wonderful, wonderful. I believe very well explained, Abhishek ji. And I believe where are you engaged or right now currently engaged or working?
Sir, I work with Nestle as a regional trainer manager, and I'm based out of Chandigarh, and from where I cover the upper part of the north, which is from J&K to Himachal to Punjab and Haryana.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
I have a team of say around 50 people for which I am responsible for learning and development.
And if I ask you, what is your one expectation from ISTD course curriculum which you are going through?
Sir, to be very true to you, I joined this course, sharing very frankly, I joined this course to get the certificate. Right, that was the very initial thought process when I had joined. Right, because it's been now almost 4.5 years that I'm into learning and development. Initially, before that, I was into sales and marketing, and I had worked into different parts of Maharashtra and Punjab as a area manager. After entering into the training field, I saw it as one of the very prospective field, wherein even after I see that even after when I retire, or maybe when I have completed my journey in a professional or corporate world, it is something which is going to help me sail through. So that was my very initial feedback, or maybe you can say my thought process. However, what I'm realizing now that as soon as I'm now going through the different classes, I'm actually finding it quite interesting, and I'm sure that this is certainly going to help me evolve into a much better professional.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for sharing that, Abhishek. I really appreciate that. And I'm requesting others also probably to answer this question. I believe this is something very important for us to understand, and I believe we'll build on this as we go. As Abhishek very well explained it, I believe he started finding some value, in fact, whatever he's going through. Yes, certification is very important. ISTD is a big brand. If you've heard about it, there's a similar counterpart at ASTD, American Society for Training and Development, and ISTD is the Indian Society for Training and Development. Yes, it's a brand. It gives value to all of us because I've been involved with this from now 6 years now, in fact, in various roles. I've been a mentor and a guide for some of the projects which you will do in the last semester to many of the professionals, as well as the faculty which we are going, and I've been doing it face to face, but I believe late I've been trying to do it virtually in the last 6 months, as what is great fun. So thanks for sharing that. I see Chandan. I believe Chandanji, you shared a Nokia case study. So go ahead. I believe what was your observation? Chandan?
So like honestly, like my background is from like I'm a mechanical engineer, sir, and I really do not know much about computers and all. But what I got to know, what I read through, so I believe Nokia was not able to adapt Android. Like this is a term called Android system, right? So I don't know much about it. That this is what I got to know. That at the time when Android was actually booming, it was actually getting bought on everywhere. So Nokia, they were not ready to adapt it, and they ignored it. They thought since they have customers who are actually using a lot of Nokia phones and all, so they thought that they will not leave. But I believe then rest is history. Then what exactly happened? And now I believe that now Nokia is ready to use each and every tools which are being used by other companies and all. So this is what my knowledge is about. I know it is little blessed, but yeah, this is what I know.
I believe two things. There's nothing less and more. I believe we are all learning from each other. So I believe because you are a mechanical engineer, you have actually blown up that engineering aspect of it. So where are you working, Chandan?
Sir, I'm working with Q-in-1. So currently I'm in the sales field, but before that I was working with Curry Launcher and Face. So basically I'm a trainer, a soft skill and a verbal trainer. So so I'm supposed to travel to different colleges and all to train students for the group discussion or the personality development topics and also. It was a lot of hardcore job, traveling job. So I've traveled from Arunachal till Surat. So I've traveled almost all these states. I've been to Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, been to remote areas, teaching them English, where it is like a taboo. And it's a very, very challenging part. You enter in the class, you tell them, I'm a maths faculty, they'll show you such a kind of expression like it's like garland thing. But the moment you say, no, that I'm an English faculty, you can see axe and logs and, hammers in their hands and all. So, but I love this job, sir. I think it is a very challenging job and it's full of responsibility and all. So, yeah. So basically, I'm a trainer only.
Wonderful. And what was your expectation when you joined ISTD?
So honestly speaking, the same what sir actually just said some time back about the certification, right? So primarily, definitely it was the first thing was the certification because I'm into training and all. And definitely if I have a certificate with that, it will help me to, go ahead. But after this is the third class I'm attending now in continuous way. And I think I'm really enjoying and learning so many new things, which I really had no idea about. And plus I'm interacting with so many different people having such a vast background and all. So I believe the journey is going to be very smoothful and fruitful at the same time.
Okay. Welcome, Chandan. Welcome,
Thank
Abhi,
you,
to
sir.
this journey. Okay, Sudeep ji. Yes, Sudeep ji, you want to share something?
Yes, sir. Another example is Hindustan Motors. Classical example, a dinosaur, it perished because it failed to evolve. It didn't read the market. It didn't read the mind of the customers. It was sort of in its own time cocoon and eventually perished.
Okay. And I believe, what was the significance of, what was the kind of impact or the product impact or the business impact of that?
Sir, Ambassador car once was the what you call Ambassador was the only car available in India once upon a time. It was a market leader,
correct,
hands down. And when Maruti came into the market, people were, these people were laughing at it like it's a matchbox. Whereas Ambassador is much more sturdy, made for Indian condition and whatnot. But the things changed drastically, and the car sector itself has gone a rapid change even immediately after that. So it
Very
has
Very true. I believe that's a good example, Sudeep, which you're sharing. And where are you coming in from? Which kind of a stream are you? Which organization are you coming in from, Sudeep?
I am an HR professional. Started my career from a PSU. Started with NTPC. Then I moved to different private companies. I worked in Delhi Airport and then headed the HR department of Honda Motorcycles. And then finally, I was heading TNT's HR department. And then finally, in 2010, I left the corporate world and started on my own. And for the last 10 years, I'm into freelancing and training.
Wonderful. I believe welcome to this journey. And I believe I'm quite sure is there a different reason why you are here with ISTD?
Not different reasons. Actually, I am into training. And I have been using my whatever experience that I have been using that to impart my training. Definitely, this will polish off my skill and I'll be more updated. That's what the reason I chose to join this course.
Okay. Very true, in fact. And that's what we'll talk about it in this course and curriculum also. And that's what we are here for. So let me, I believe, just to give a perspective to everybody. Thanks for sharing that, Sudeep. Thanks a lot for sharing that. And I believe we have some perspectives coming in from Abhishek, Chandan, and Sudeep. That's what I really love. I've been interacting with so many people, and that's what I enjoy. Let me try to show you something which is something very, very interesting. So whatever you are seeing right now on the screen, I want everybody to use the chat box and write some 3 keywords what you are able to see on the screen. Whatever you are able to see on the screen, just write 3 keywords in the chat box. I'm just trying to give you a parlance of what we have been talking about. Whatever you see in this photo or whatever you see in this photograph, what do you see here? Okay, I've started seeing some responses flowing in. Okay, I see deer alone, road and a forest, trees, deer, road, forest, walking deer, and pictures seem edited. Okay, deer crossing the road. Okay, that's interesting one, Pooja. Deer crossing the road. Photoshop. Okay, Photoshop. Prerna has seen Photoshop, in fact. Okay, always crossroad opportunity. Deer, road, tree. Okay, Photoshop. So some of them are able to see Photoshop, some of them are able to see forest. Let me try to, deer crossing over, road marking, wonderful. Dhananjay. Let me, just for a few seconds, let me give you a cue. For a few seconds, don't watch this photograph from your physical eyes. अपनी मन की आंखों से इस फोटो को देखने की कोशिश करिए. अपने मन की आंखों से ये फोटो को देखने की कोशिश करिए. तो do you see something different?
I guess some car or some other vehicle crossed the road and that hurts the last leg of the deer.
Oh, wonderful. I believe. And who was this?
This is Piyush from Lucknow.
Piyush, I believe, yes, I believe you have started seeing from your different eyes now.
Something is wrong with the fourth leg behind.
Okay.
Like
so
he's suffering from something.
Okay. So some bit of empathy is started coming in as what I'm visualizing. Okay. Tell me something more. Tell me something more if somebody wants to share something more, whatever you can see from your man ki eyes. Man ki aankhon se, not your physical eyes. See something what you can see. And I believe some of you who said that probably can say that. You can unmute yourself and say that. Yes, Prerna?
So I believe that we are intervening in I mean that the road is in between the forest. So we are intervening in their field of
Wonderful.
life.
Wonderful. I love that, Prerna.
Their
Thanks.
habitat.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for bringing that perspective. And this is exactly what we don't realize. I want everybody to appreciate that कि सबको जो दिख रही थी कि road जा रही है, deer road cross कर रहा है, but actually this road is made inside the forest. And that is what is actually आपके घर में अगर कोई road बना दे तो आपको कैसा लगेगा? This is what exactly is some of the people who have creatively looked into this photograph or many such things कि लोगों के घरों में हमने बना दिया है, natural habitat उनका disturb कर दिया है, उनका घर में हमने सड़क बना दी है. So this is exactly very some nature lovers actually are able to say that and see that from their man ki aankhon se. So thanks a lot for sharing that, Prerna, and I believe that's what I believe is the different people are different and you can see that differently. And that's what I just want to give an inclination that we'll build on this. What is important in a cognitive thinking? Because this is something I'm just setting the context for all of us, how cognitive thinking is very, very important. And different people think differently. And that's what we have seen. Same photograph has been looked after by different people differently. So how do we do that? And I can see a lot of good responses coming up in the chat box. I can see we'll build on this. I am actually going to just keep it, in fact, with me, and I'll make sure that we are able to discuss this when we come next week. So in the last 4 minutes which we have, I just wanted, if anybody has any specific expectations from this course of ISTD which you have joined today and is going to continue for this whole semester. I heard some few of them. Certification is one of them, but they have started finding something of value. If you want some value, if you want to learn something differently, please go ahead, unmute yourself and share that. If you have some specific expectation from ISTD on this curriculum, please go ahead and share that.
Hello.
Yes, Sonakshi.
I would just like to share that as I have always been from an IT background, and I have been very keen towards the learning and development domain. So I joined ISTD for the fact that I wanted to learn more about this area, and now that I am in such an esteemed group where there are so many experienced faculties and people, I really look forward to actually learn that how I can get into this sector more and share knowledge and learn more about it and grow into a or become a more better trainer, going ahead.
Wonderful. So Sonakshi, what's your background? Have you done some IT, computer programming? What kind of a course have you done? I believe, where are you working? If you can just tell me in quick 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure, sir. So I have done my bachelor's in computer science, and I have a 5-year experience in IT. Recently, for the past 2 years, I'm working in analytics. I'm currently working in Vodafone in the analytics department.
Wonderful. So I believe the way you have articulated this thing you want to learn in training, as you must have seen my introduction, I am also my engineering computer science. पहले कंप्यूटर का प्रोग्राम करता था, अब ह्यूमन माइंड का प्रोग्राम करता हूँ. That's the only difference.
Yes, sir.
So I believe it's not so difficult. You can actually go back and really evolve yourself as we have been talking about it, and you can become a trainer. And this ISTD program in next whatever 18 months or 1.5 years is going to help you in this journey. So welcome to this journey.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Anybody else has any specific expectation from ISTD program? Please go ahead and unmute yourself and share.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, Prerna.
So I'm Prerna, currently associated with Mahindra Finance as an assistant manager. I did my MBA from HR in 2019. I completed my MBA there, and I am fascinated to have a career in this field of training and development because in a span of a year, I understand, and in this situation also, I understand that how in the COVID situation things have changed and how much it is important for every organization to have a continuous development. And I want to pursue in this field so that I can contribute to that as an individual, in an organization, as well as in the community.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I believe, welcome to this journey, Prerna, because definitely you'll be able to gain a lot of things in this area. And this program is very specific to this same purpose. And you will really enjoy this part very well, in fact. So I can see some expectations coming up. So from today's session, I'm quite sure you may have gained, all of you must have gained something. So I want you to capture that, whatever you have gained. There's a link which I have shared with you. Just click that link. In the chat box, you will find out a link. Just click that link, and it will take a minute for you to share your learnings of today's session, of whatever you have done right now, of cognitive way of doing thinking. And I want you to capture that learning of today, because 90 minute mein aapne jo bhi seekha hai, agar aap capture nahi karoge to it will go out. You will miss it out. So just click that link and do that capturing that. And the way you have to capture it, one behavioral thing which you want to start from today. How, as a trainer, you want to evolve yourself, a new practice or a new idea, whatever you have been observing in the last 90 minutes, you want to start from today. Because end of the day, it's going to help you. Starting something new. Stop. Stop is something which is not going to help you in doing whatever you're doing. Stop doing that. So you have to also register one thing which you have to stop doing things and continue. The third one is continue. Continue is one strength which you have as a trainer, which you should continue. And that is again very, very important to capture that, because that's your strength. And if you're doing that, whatever you have learned from today's session, you should continue doing that. So start, stop, continue is something you should capture that. And just click that link and submit that. And I'll just review that before we meet then in the next session. So that's what the idea is, to really give you online some kind of a support in this journey of training as you're looking forward for, and how you can make this session more and more impactful. I believe it should be editable. If you can just copy this link inside your browser. If you can't click it, just copy the link inside your browser, and I believe you should be able to do that.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I'm Anupama.
Yes,
Actually,
Anupama.
I'm not associated with any company and I'm not working because I'm still a student. So
Okay.
what am I supposed to insert in? What am I supposed to type?
Just type some, whatever the student course or something like that. That's all. That is only, the idea is to capture your learning there.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Right there, NA, not applicable.
Not applicable is also fine. The idea is to make it interactive so that next session when I come there for cognitive, I can give you more meaningful, valuable things based upon your learnings and your feedback also. At the end of the day, I also have to perform. So I'll be able to really go back and give some value to you based upon your feedback and your learnings. So that's very, very important. So, Varma, you are there? So, K.K. Verma is here. You are there?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible now.
Yeah, I'm there.
So we are just about to close, sir. I believe we are, as per the plan of yours, we are there at the boundary of the third paper, and probably in next 1 or 2 minutes, I believe we should be able to wind up. If there are any questions, I'll be very happy to answer that. Otherwise, your next session is going to start from 4 o'clock. So you have a tea break or a high tea break. You can enjoy your tea. I'll have my tea. You can have your tea. There's the one difference. Earlier, the good part was when we were meeting physically, Varmaji and Prashadji were very, very helpful to give us chai, garma garam chai, sometimes samosa, sometimes biscuits. But that is something which we are missing. But there's a good news as an opportunity. There is a larger audience which you can benefit from, because
you all can have tea.
You can have your tea, I can have my tea, but the chai pe charcha hoti rahegi, and we are very happy. So I believe that's what the beauty of the virtual platform is, and we can enjoy our chais, and we can still keep the thought process still connecting us, in fact, and learning that way. So if you have done that form, I believe, sir, that book has
Thank
been
you,
provided.
Mr. Gupta Sahab. You can transfer the host, and
I'm doing that, sir.
I stop the recording, and then we will take it further. Thank you, gentlemen. I think participating all. Now I am become host again. So thank you. There are 41 participants from all over the places. Thank you very much for joining. I think now I will stop the recording for this session and see you at 4 o'clock for paper 4. Thank you all.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right.